Taboo. Always considered as something wrong or incorrect in society.
A taboo usually is a moral or cautionary restriction placed upon certain actions by authorities of people, which, if ignored, will result in specific negative consequences.
Taboo are some topics people just do not talk about. Topics that may cause embarrassment or shame to those members of participating in the discourse. Examples: death, sex, excretion, bodily functions, religious, murders, and politics.
We all feel them. The forbidden, the sinful, the taboo. Behaviors that divide cultures and inspire fear. But our differences may be what make us all human.
This video shows how can we relate the different topics that we saw during the semester with one simple idea that is known around the world, which is taboo.
One of these aspects is solidarity and politeness. Around the world, there are different customs and traditions that differ from ours. Do not give anyone gifts that consist of 4 things, such as 4 books or 4 pieces of fruit. In Japanese, shi means death, and it also means the number 4. Because the words share the same pronunciation, the Japanese consider 4 to be an omen of death. Traditional Japanese taboos center on the number 4. According to Hill, 1986, politeness is one of the constraints of human interaction, whose purpose is to consider others' feelings, establish levels of mutual comfort, and promote rapport. This means that, for example, every time we travel around the world, we have to take into consideration that in all the countries there is a different culture, in which we have to adapt ourselves in order to maintain the communication or interaction within people. We have to be aware in not hurt other people's feelings and establish a conversation respecting others' opinions.
Moreover, according to Lackford, 1972, politeness is what we think is appropriate behavior in particular situations in an attempt to achieve and maintain successful social relationships with others. As we mentioned before, people have many social networks in their lives, for example, family, friends, love relationships, at school, etc. And each person behaves differently in each one of them. That means we adapt our behavior in order to maintain the relationship with each one. A clear example is never talk or make noise on the subway. Shouting away on the cell phone or talking loudly with a friend on the train is a no-no. Japanese like it to be quiet and would most likely find your babbling just as rude as if you were talking in a library.
Finally, we have politeness from Scotland 2001, and it says that any communication is a risk to face. It is a risk to one's own face. At the same time, it is a risk to the other persons. We have to carefully project a face for ourselves and to respect the face rights and claims of the other participants. That is why we should be careful with our actions and comments, because if we are in a conversation and we say or do something that hurts other people's feelings or vice versa, we can lose that relationship. There are 2 types of politeness. The first one is the positive politeness. It emphasizes shared attitudes and values. is solidarity oriented. The second one is the negative politeness. It pays people respect and avoids intruding on them, expressing oneself appropriately in terms of social distance and respecting status differences, using title plus last name to your superiors and to other people that you don't know well. For example, in Japan, people are very respectful in their personal space. Some Japanese believe that entering someone else's personal space exposes them to germs and infringes upon their privacy. Coming into physical contact with another person is a taboo. So, if people are in Japan, don't have to shake hands with them unless they bow to them. In addition, don't touch Japanese people even if they are colleagues or clients.
Another example of the politeness is that in Korea, people should be very careful about the topics they talk about in class. Always avoid discussing any political matters, family matters, and do not talk about North Korea and South Korea's relationship.
Another important aspect that we saw during the semester is prototypes. They are defined as the original or model on which something is based or formed. For example, there are illness taboos in Japan. The first one is that it is uncleanly and rude to sneeze or blow your nose in public. The second one is that if you are visible sick, wear a face mask in public. This gives the appearance of keeping germs from other people. And the third one, people should wash their hands and use sanitizer frequently.
Another important aspect that is very close to taboos is diglossia. Its most known definition for us is that diglossia is a code employed in one set of circumstances or in an entirely different set. Two very different varieties of the same language are used for two different sets of situations, high variety and low variety. Taboo allowed people to interpret things in different ways. According to the variety they use to speak, a taboo can be interpreted as something good for some people and something wrong and bad for others. An example of how diglossia and taboo are related is the following. Polygamy. It's when a person has more than one spouses at the same time. This topic is also something that is not spoken out loud very much during real life to its illicit nature. For people who usually use high variety, it isn't a problem because they always think everything's solved with money, instead of people who use low variety because they tend more to involve feelings, and finally, they get betrayed for their couples. They don't think about money.
Is something you can't see. Every aspect of this family's life, who they marry, what they wear, even what they eat, is controlled by the man they call their prophet, Warren Jeffs.
Obey the prophet when he speaks, and you'll be blessed. Disobey him, it is death.
Warren Jeffs is no longer living in this community, but he is still in control from behind bars.
New details about even more abuse young woman suffered inside the sacred temple of the church compound.
Jeffs had over 80 wives, but he was sentenced to life in prison for the sexual assault of underage girls. Explosive audio tapes of Jeffs and his young wives talking during their sexual encounters were played during his trial.
Spend a little time together, sitting in your chair with the ladies around each.
Besides all the previous aspects that we mentioned before, speech communities is another of those that we should talk about. Africa is a good example of speech communities because it has many of these. This is a continent that has a big mixture of different traditions. According to each group or speech community, one concept can be interpreted in many different ways. For example, the following video shows the way of thinking of the Cambodian people about the idea of teenagers have sex.
Ratanakiri Province, 400 miles northeast of the Cambodian capital Phnom Penh, is home to the Kriung people. In this remote jungle enclave, humans live close to nature. To city dwellers the world over, the Kriung way of life would seem old-fashioned, even primitive. But there's one Kriung tradition that would seem extreme, even in the most modern, permissive societies. Dotted around their village are small huts. They look innocent enough, but at night, young girls entertain boys here and experiment with sex.
The definition of a speech community says the following. It is a group of people who consider they speak the same language. Words and culture means the relation between sounds, word, and syntax of a language, and the ways in which speakers of that language experience the world and behave in it. There are a lot of words that, according to each culture, can have a different interpretation. That is one of them. The following video shows how one word can make people from different places act according to their beliefs and culture. This word can represent something bad for human beings, but then each culture changes that idea into something different.
The dead. We may think of them fondly as they once were in life, but few of us wish to confront them in their current state.
It's taboo. It's strange. It's creepy.
Just desiccated, creepy, shrinking mass.
I don't like to see dead bodies. I love life, then why I need to see death?
Throughout the world, few aspects of life are more fraught with taboo than death, or more precisely, the bodily remains of people who have passed away.
Euphemism. It is a word or series of words which replaces sad, unpleasant, or shocking ideas with softer and nicer expressions. It means that through the time, words change and are replaceable by others, nicer and soft, according to the situation in which people are. For example, euphemisms also refer to sexual orientations and lifestyles. In the movie Closer, the character played by Jude Law uses the euphemism "he valued his privacy" for being homosexual. Another example of religion can be an euphemism for God and Jesus, such as gosh and gee. These are used for many Christians to avoid taking the name of God in a via note, which would violate one of the 10 Commandments.
Framework for analyzing communicative events, according to Del Hines. First of all, we have the gender or type of event. It could be a phone call, conversation, business, meeting, lesson, interview, blog, etc.
It also includes the topic or what people are talking about, holidays, sports, social linguistics, politics, etc.
The purpose or function is also in this framework, and it is the reason or reasons for the talk. For example, to plan an event, to catch up socially, to teach something, to persuade someone, to help you.
Then we have the setting, that is where the talk takes place. It can be at home, in the classroom, in an office.
The key or emotional tone are part of this framework. It can be serious, jocular, sarcastic, etc.
Participants are the characteristics of those present and the relationship, sex, age, social status, role, and role relationship.
Message form. The code and or channel, telephone, letter, email, language, and language variety, nonverbal, etc.
Message content or specific details of what the communication is about. Organizing a time for a football match, describing how the tap works, describing how to make something.
The act sequence or ordering speech acts. Greetings, meeting turn, taking roles, ending a telephone conversation, etc.
Rules for interaction or prescribed orders of speaking. Who must speak first? Who must respond to the celebrant at the wedding? Who closes a business meeting?
Norms of interpretation of what is going on. The common knowledge and shared understandings of the relevant cultural presuppositions, what we need to know to interpret what is going on.
It's the big day. Rather than cover up in white, the brides are showing off their natural assets with some artistically placed body paint.
I'm so excited. In my heart, I feel just overwhelmed with joy.
I think I need to do a little trimming up. Where the sun doesn't shine, but it's going to shine today.
I'm excited, somewhat jittery. Just anxious to get it over with.
This morning I was nervous. We started off having a blow dryer emergency, and it's like, no, my hair. It's all about the hair and makeup on any wedding day. I don't think it matters whether you wear clothes or not.
The brides make their way to the altar.
I've never seen a wedding dress more beautiful than my naked fiance. They just don't make one.
My friends, we are gathered here today to join Daniel and Yana, Kevin and Shannon, John and Millie, Kenneth.
This is an example of a taboo wedding in Tampa, Florida, which is very different as the ones we are used to attend.
Now, we are going to use the framework of analyzing communicative events for this wedding.
Let's go with the first aspect, that is
genre.
That is a meeting.
Topic.
Multiple weddings.
Purpose or function.
The union of two people who love each other.
Setting.
In a garden.
Key or emotional tone.
Serious, sarcastic, and humorous.
Participants.
All the naked brides and grooms, and the naked celebrant who joined them.
Message form.
Language and verbal.
Message content.
Describing how weird American weddings are. In this case, they get married in a naked way. Act sequence.
These types of weddings take place in a garden. There are just the naked brides and grooms with the naked celebrant who is going to join them. Next, the celebrant reads a few fragments of the Bible, and then the couples give the ring to each other. Finally, the couples finish the ceremony dancing, drinking wine, and kissing each other.
Rules for interaction.
The celebrant is the only person who speaks during the whole ceremony.
Norms for interpretation.
The main aspect of these weddings is that all people in that ceremony are naked, and the only person who speaks is the celebrant.
All the concepts that we already analyzed in this video sum up into words: language and society. As everybody knows, language is the code that each group of people use to communicate among them.
And society is the networking relationships of individuals that are connected through a common purpose.